Come on guys, have a good night. Back with a video, and today go ahead and discuss 15 cards that were almost added to Clash Royale. Supercell is always testing new cards, and it's estimated that they've tried hundreds as mentioned by a developer in the official Clash Royale podcast. Obviously, only the best ones get added to Clash Royale, but how about the ones that were nearly added but killed at the last second? Well, today's video is just about that. Now before we get into the video, if you guys want to go ahead and enter my monthly giveaway for the month of June, all you gotta do is like and comment, and that's pretty much it. So without further ado, let's go ahead and get right into it. Number 1. The Ice Wizard Tower. In Clash of Clans, we have a regular Wizard Tower, and in Clash Royale, the Bomb Tower was supposed to be the Wizard Tower, except it didn't target air. But have you ever thought of an Ice Wizard Tower? Well, Supercell has, and it was almost added as the first legendary building in the game. This will be just like a Wizard Tower, but instead of a regular wizard, the Ice Wizard will be on top. I think it's obvious by now, but the reason why it wasn't added was due to the fact that it was just too defensive and made games so slow. Like, just imagine a tower slowing down an entire push for ages. Yeah, the idea sounds kinda cool, but unfortunately, it was already scratched off. Number 2. The Ghost. This card would have been, well, exactly what it sounds like, a ghost. It would be invisible all the way up until it got close enough to stun an enemy. After that, it will become visible, you could see it. Another way to make it visible was if your spells hit the ghost, like for example a poison or a freeze, fireball, zap. But let's be honest here, how could you really know where it was in the first place if it was invisible? You might think that the idea was scrapped, but no. The Ghost actually inspired the making of the Bandit. Yeah, the Bandit. To me, it's weird because they don't relate. However, it could have been that the Ghost had the same dash that the Bandit has. So even though we will probably never hear about the Ghost again, it's so cool to know it was the first version of the well-known legendary the Bandit. Number 3. The Mega P.E.K.K.A. The developers at Supercell decided it was time to make a third P.E.K.K.A. Since we have the mini and the normal one, a bigger and badder P.E.K.K.A. would have been cool. So there were 3 versions of this Mega P.E.K.K.A. they played around with. The first being that it had infinite damage. This meant it could one-shot everything, including the King Tower. But the only downside, of course, was low health. Still though, I think this infinite damage P.E.K.K.A. would have been a little bit scary. The second concept was a bigger P.E.K.K.A. that would spawn a mini P.E.K.K.A. when it was destroyed. This was later killed though because it didn't make any sense, and they had visual problems. And the final concept was a huge P.E.K.K.A. that would not get distracted, so kinda like a royal giant. It would continue to walk to the tower even if there was goblins and barbarians in front of it. Supercell has confirmed that all of the 3 ideas were tested and were paused, so maybe we will see an actual Mega P.E.K.K.A. in Clash Royale sometime in the near future. Number 4. The Bear Trap. This card was never confirmed or discussed, but it was indeed found in the game files. Like everything else we find in the game files, it usually means it was tested at one point or another. If any of you remember back in October, a new arena and 4 cards were found in the game files. Little did we know the 4 cards were actually the Clone Spell, Elite Barbarians, Tornado, and the Electro Wizard. Keep in mind, this was October. And I think it was probably even September, I'm not even sure. As for the new arena, it was called Titan Arena. Obviously there is no Titan Arena, but if you look in the game files, the current highest arena is called Titan. So my point is, stuff hidden in the game files are real. We don't have much information about the bear trap, but there were some different angles of it, and it even had an animation. We can speculate that this could have been just a trap that will deal high damage, but as of today, it's still a huge mystery. Number 5. The Elixir Monster. This would have been a big elixir blob looking troop, kinda like a purple golem, but softer, not a rock. We aren't quite sure how strong it would have been, but we do know for a fact that when it was destroyed, it was split into 2, like a regular golem. But the twist here is those 2 mini elixir blobs would turn into 2 full-size elixir monsters. That's if you left them unattended, of course, not just like instantly. The developers also stated that this new card would have been a boss, which is a new rarity higher than legendary. Of course, there is no boss rarity at the moment, but those were all just ideas when it was being tested. I think it's obvious why they decided not to add it though. They said it was too overpowered and it was a pain to counter it. Number 6. The Elite Barbarian Huts. It sounds crazy, and it was crazy. The Supercell team confirmed they messed around with it during a podcast held on YouTube, but it's unknown how it turned out or how strong the barbarians actually were. Let's just hope they weren't real Elite Barbarians because Yeah. What we do know is that they tested it and almost added it into Clash Royale. As crazy as it sounds, I'm sure it wouldn't have been OP as it seems. Supercell has their ways of making cards balanced. Well, sometimes. But just think for a second, an Elite Barbarian Huts. They did mention that they tried a hut for every card in the game, and that got me thinking, what did they think of the Royal Giant Hut? Number 7. The Butterfly Spell. This spell was supposed to distract troops by having butterflies spawn in a chosen area. Unfortunately, the team was having problems with visual effects, and the Butterfly Spell became the Tornado Spell. It's crazy to think that the Tornado's idea was originally going to be a butterfly spell, but according to Supercell, the Tornado was much better and easier to make. Number 8. The Barbarian Launcher. It's exactly what you think. It's a launcher that throws barbarians. Pretty self-explanatory. This card was tested with the cannon first, and then it was transferred over to the mortar since it made more sense and looked a whole lot cooler. The barbarian would have been launched and thrown across the arena, but the team was having a hard time choosing where it would actually go. Would it target a tower, or would it just act like a normal mortar? The idea wasn't killed, but it was paused for a further date. They claimed the reason for this was also because the barbarian launcher didn't lead to much interesting situations. And for those who don't know, Supercell loves adding cards that will somehow change the game in a fun way. Number 9. The Dark Mirror. I'm sure you've heard of this one, so I'll try and keep it short. Basically, this card was supposed to mirror the opponent's card. You use the mirror and it would spawn the card your opponent just placed. The reason it was removed though was because they were having a hard time making the card mirror the right troop. It was a simple yet interesting idea, and they said they will revisit it if they ever have a better idea. Number 10. The Portal Spell. This card will let you place a portal on one side and another portal would open up on the other side. For example, you drop a portal on the left lane and the right lane would have an exit portal. This would allow you to transfer cards or even an entire push to the other side. Obviously, it was removed because the portal would lead to powerful surprise pushes. In other words, it was just too powerful and broken. Not only would it be OP to use, but if you transferred your whole push to the other side and had no elixir, your other lane would be open to anything and you could lose the entire match just because you used the portal. The idea was later killed and it's unsure if they will ever revisit it. Number 11. The Ice Spirit Hut. I find this one interesting because before they mentioned they actually tried this, I mentioned it in one of my videos as an idea a very long time ago. It doesn't mean they stole my idea though, I'm not taking any credit. They did mention they tried a hut for everything, so yeah, maybe they thought about it before me. Basically, the Ice Spirit Hut will be, well, a furnace. But instead of spawning fire spirits, it will spawn ice spirits. It's unsure to why it was killed though. It's one of those ideas that we never really got much information for. So we can speculate that it was killed probably because it just didn't work as expected. Number 12. The Trojan Horse. In case you're wondering what that is, it's kind of like a horse made of wood that could hold people inside. This was used for war purposes, but I'm sure many of you don't want to hear me talk about history, so yeah. The Trojan Horse in Clash Royale was pretty much the same. Wooden horse, and it would move across the arena, and when it got to where it was supposed to go, a little door would open and spawn some troops. Pretty cool, right? Well, it's not clear what troops will be inside in the first place because the team just said that it would be pre-selected. They also mentioned that most likely it would be goblins, but they weren't entirely sure. Anything else would have been just too powerful because imagine like hiding a royal giant or 5 elite barbarians. The reason why it wasn't added though is because visually it was too big and it would cover other cards when it turned. But they never mentioned that the idea was killed, so we could see some type of similar troop to this. Number 13. The Dragon. This is probably one of the most discussed cards that was never added and the first to have ever been confirmed to be tested before the game was released. The story of the Dragon is, well, quite interesting. Visually, the Dragon was just too large for Clash Royale. The wings would just cover other smaller cards. Same situation with the Trojan Horse. So instead of just scratching off the Dragon, they created the baby dragon. Yes, the baby dragon was created because the normal dragon was too big. Crazy, right? And then after that, the baby dragon was added to Clash of Clans and also inspired the Inferno Dragon. So just because the dragon was too big, it made a huge change in both games. So yeah, a little unexpected. Number 14. The Gift Spell. This card would have gave you a random card. That's pretty much it. I know, it's a pretty small and cute idea, but I gotta admit it was kinda useless. So it wasn't added. We don't know the reason why, nor we don't know how it would have worked. There's a lot of cards that were tested and we don't know much information about. And this has to be one of those cards. And finally, on to number 15, we have the Chain Tesla. This one is a bit more complicated than just a new card. The reason behind that is because it's unsure if it would have been a new Tesla or a Tesla rework. What we do know though is a whole lot more interesting. When people found this Chain Tesla in the game files, the Electro Wizard wasn't even a card yet. Little did we know, we were looking at the first few stages of the Electro Wizard in the game files. But the weird part about it is it was a building. Perhaps the Electro Wizard was supposed to be a Tesla type building that would do the same thing the Electro Wizard does. But a few months went by and the Electro Wizard was introduced with the ability to attack multiple enemies at the same time, which in other words that is called a chain attack. So yeah, even though we will never see the Chain Tesla come to the game, that was actually the Electro Wizard in the works. But guys, that is pretty much it for my 15 cards that were almost added to Clash Royale. I had a lot of fun researching all these cards, and some of these even revealed interesting facts. If you guys want to see more videos like this, just make sure to like the video and let me know down below. So, hope you guys enjoyed. Please rate, comment, and subscribe for more videos. Tell me what you guys think below in the comment section. See you all in the next one. Peace.